A single aircraft flashes across radar screens in the Pacific, then vanishes, gone in less than 30 seconds. But in that moment, America's most advanced jets are already under attack. This isn't a movie trailer. This isn't science fiction. This is China's new J-36 stealth fighter, and experts believe it could change the balance of power in the skies faster than any jet in history. Today, we're diving deep into how the J-36 works, why the Pentagon is panicking, and what this means for the future of air combat. Because everything changed the moment it first appeared. The December 26th reveal. On December 26, 2024, while the world celebrated the holidays, China stunned defense analysts. Over Chengdu, Sichuan province, the J-36 stealth fighter appeared for the very first time. The date wasn't random. It was Mao Zedong's birthday, a symbolic unveiling designed to send a message. China's sixth-generation fighter had arrived. And not just one prototype, two. Leaked footage showed a machine unlike anything we'd seen before. Not just a stealth jet. Not just another rival to America's F-22 or F-35. The J-36 looked like something ripped from the future. A tailless flying wing, diamond-shaped surfaces, a massive airframe stretching 75 feet long, and then the shocker, 3 engines. A Tri-J stealth fighter, something no other country had even attempted. And that's when defense analysts realized China wasn't just catching up, they might be pulling ahead. Because this jet wasn't supposed to exist until 2035. Yet there it was, 6 years early. If China had leaped this far ahead of schedule, what else were they hiding? That's why experts call the J-36 more than a fighter. It's something far more dangerous, because it gives China what strategists call decision advantage. Here's why Pentagon planners are losing sleep. In modern air combat, 85% of victories go to whoever sees and fires first. That's not opinion, it's history. Now imagine a jet that appears on radar for less than a blink, launches missiles, and vanishes again before you even know what happened. That's the J-36. American stealth fighters like the F-22 and F-35 are masters of surprise. But when they open their weapons bays to fire, they light up on enemy radar for a few critical seconds. Seconds that could mean the difference between survival and destruction. But the J-36 doesn't just open one bay. It has 3 separate internal weapons bays, giving it the ability to carry more missiles without sacrificing stealth. That means it stays invisible longer. It stays deadly longer. Think about what that means in a real fight. Beyond visual range combat happens at distances of 50 miles or more. If a J-36 fires first, your jet might already be dead before your radar even shows a threat. But how is that possible? How do you build a jet that powerful and still keep it hidden? The secret is in the engine revolution. Engines are the soul of a fighter jet, and the J-36 has not 2, but 3. 2 engines sit under its wings, like America's F-22. But a third is mounted dorsally, behind the cockpit, with its own intake. A bizarre design that at first looked like a mistake, until engineers explained why. This Tri-J system provides redundancy. Lose one engine, you still have 2. Take damage in combat, you can keep flying. Over the vast Pacific Ocean, where losing a single engine often means losing a plane, that's a game changer. It also provides supercruise power, the ability to fly at supersonic speeds without afterburners. That means higher speed, lower heat signature, and more fuel efficiency. And then there's the speculation. Reports suggest these engines could be the WS-15, China's answer to America's legendary F-135 engines that power the F-35. Some analysts even whisper the unthinkable, that the WS-15 may outperform US engines in raw thrust. If that's true, then the J-36 isn't just stealthy, it's fast, very fast. But speed isn't its only weapon, because when you step inside the cockpit, things get even stranger. Cockpit revolution. Most fighter jets are single-seat, 1 pilot, 1 mission. But the J-36 breaks the rule again. Its cockpit seats 2 pilots side by side, a design usually reserved for bombers. Why does that matter? Because it means the J-36 is built for long-range missions. Missions far from China's borders. Missions over the Pacific, where range and endurance decide who controls the skies. One pilot flies, the other runs sensors, drones, electronic warfare systems, and coordinates attacks. That division of labor allows the J-36 to handle complex operations that would overwhelm a single pilot. And it gets scarier. High-resolution images from May 2025 revealed something new: advanced infrared search and track sensors on the nose. These systems detect heat signatures, meaning the J-36 can spot American stealth jets that rely on radar and visibility. So even if you can't see it on radar, the J-36 can still see you. If you're the Pentagon, that's not just concerning, that's terrifying. Which brings us to the question: how is America responding? At first, US officials brushed it off. Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall called the J-36 expected and said America's Next Generation Air Dominance Program, NGAD, was already preparing for such threats. But behind closed doors, the mood was different. NGAD has been plagued by budget issues and delays. It was supposed to give America dominance through the 1940s. Now, suddenly, China might get there first. Analysts thought China was at least a decade behind. The J-36 proved otherwise. That forced the Pentagon to rethink not just its timeline, but its entire strategy in the Pacific. Because if China can field J-36 squadrons before NGAD even enters service, the US could find itself outmatched for the first time since World War II. And in the Pacific, that's a nightmare scenario. The Pacific Theater Problem. Here's the thing about fighting over the Pacific. It's nothing like Europe or the Middle East. Bases are scattered thousands of miles apart, refueling is limited, and everything happens over endless stretches of water, where a single mistake can mean no rescue. Now imagine an aircraft the size of the J-36, with 3 engines, massive fuel capacity, and a combat radius over 1,500 miles. That means it can reach Japan, Guam, even Hawaii, all without refueling. Suddenly, US bases once thought safe are within striking range. And the TRIJ design? It ensures the plane can limp home even if one engine fails over the ocean. The message is clear. China built this jet not for defense, but for projection, for dominance in the Pacific. And when you factor in its missile capacity, the math becomes chilling. Because the J-36 isn't built for close dogfights, it's designed to slay long before you ever see it. Beyond visual range, the new reality. Forget dogfights. Forget Top Gun. Modern air combat happens long before pilots ever see each other. It's all about who fires first, beyond visual range. The J-36 is designed to dominate this arena. Inside its massive bays, it can carry long-range PL-17 missiles with ranges near 200 miles. That's double what many American fighters can carry internally. If an F-35 can launch 4 missiles, the J-36 might launch 12. Do the math. One J-36 could target 6 American jets at once. Even at a 50% slay rate, it tips the balance instantly. That's why analysts say the J-36 isn't just another stealth jet. It's the spark that accelerates the entire stealth arms race. For decades, America ruled stealth. From the F-117 Nighthawk to the B-2 Spirit, to the F-22 and F-35, US jets were untouchable. But China learned fast, through espionage, investment, and sheer industrial power. The J-20 Mighty Dragon proved China could build a 5th-generation stealth aircraft. Now the J-36 suggests they've leapfrogged to 6th. Part of that leap comes from engines. For years, Chinese jets relied on Russian power plants. Not anymore. The WS-15 program may finally have given them true independence. That means fewer bottlenecks, faster production, more aircraft in the air, and stealth is only one piece. Because in modern war, it's not just about hiding. It's about jamming, hacking, and outthinking your opponent. That's where electronic warfare and sensor fusion come in. Think of modern combat as a chessboard. Whoever sees the most pieces wins. The J-36 was built to see everything. Its 2-seat crew can manage powerful jamming systems, intercept enemy communications, and even disrupt radar entirely. It doesn't just hide, it blinds. And with advanced sensor fusion, it can combine data from drones, satellites, and other aircraft into one seamless picture. That allows pilots to react instantly. Even more dangerous? Reports suggest the J-36 can command drone swarms, meaning one fighter could control dozens of unmanned aircraft, flooding the skies with targets, decoys, and weapons. Against that kind of coordination, even America's best jets would struggle. So the next question is, when will this nightmare machine actually be combat ready? The answer takes us straight into one of the most urgent concerns for the Pentagon: the production and deployment timeline. Here's the scary part. China's last stealth jet, the J-20, went from prototype to combat ready in just 6 years. The J-36 is following the same pattern. Analysts believe it could reach initial combat readiness by the late 2020s, years before NGAD is expected to deploy. Satellite imagery already shows expanded hangars at Chengdu Aircraft Corporation, built specifically to house the J-36's enormous wingspan. China isn't just testing, they're preparing for mass production, which means American pilots may be facing the J-36 in real combat far sooner than anyone thought. And if that happens, US forces will have to fight differently, very differently, because the arrival of this jet doesn't just shift timelines, it reshapes the entire battlefield strategy through what defense experts now call strategic implications. For decades, American pilots trained with one assumption: they had the technological edge. The J-36 changes that. It forces the US to plan for battles where Chinese aircraft may have more range, more missiles, and better stealth. That means dispersing forces, building new bases, and changing tactics. It also means retraining pilots for a reality where the first sign of an enemy isn't a radar blip. It's an incoming missile. And that training has already begun. Training and AI assistance. At red flag exercises, US pilots are already simulating fights against near-peer stealth aircraft. Scenarios where the first warning is too late. The solution? Artificial intelligence. AI-assisted systems can process sensor data in milliseconds, far faster than human reflexes. They can recommend evasive maneuvers, countermeasures, or firing solutions instantly. Against a jet like the J-36, where split-second decisions mean life or death, AI might be the edge America needs. But no matter how good AI gets, the US can't face this challenge alone. Strengthening alliances. That's why America is deepening defense ties with allies. Japan, Australia, South Korea, and even India are joining advanced fighter development programs. Japan is working with the UK and Italy on the Global Combat Air Program. Australia is boosting drone integration. India is being courted as a new partner in Indo-Pacific defense. Because one thing is clear, countering the J-36 isn't a one-country job. It's an alliance mission. And the stakes aren't just military, they're economic. So let's talk about the hidden costs and ripple effects behind China's $50 billion gamble. What analysts call economic and industrial implications. The J-36 is estimated to cost China over $50 billion in development. That's not just a military project, it's a national priority. And while that price tag is massive, it's also a message. China is willing to spend whatever it takes to end America's dominance. For the US, that means keeping defense budgets high, pushing industry to innovate, and making sure production stays ahead. Because the choices made right now will decide who rules the skies. And that brings us to the critical chapter simply known as the next decade. The 20s will be the decisive decade. If China fields full squadrons of J-36s before NGAD is operational, the US could lose its edge. If America responds with speed, innovation, and alliances, it could maintain dominance. Either way, the J-36 has already changed history. It's forced the world to admit something unthinkable just a few years ago: that US air superiority is no longer guaranteed. The J-36 isn't just another jet. It's a challenge to America's air power, unlike anything since the Cold War. With its Trij design, massive range, and stealth that could outmatch even the F-22, it represents a future where China doesn't just defend its skies, it dominates them. But history shows America shines brightest under pressure. From Pearl Harbor to the space race, US innovation has turned impossible odds into victory. The question is, will the same happen now? One thing's for sure, The skies over the Pacific just got a lot more dangerous, and the countdown to the next air power showdown has already begun. If you want to keep your finger on the pulse of the world's most advanced jets and the battles they're built for, hit that subscribe button. In the race for air dominance, don't get left behind.